Your support helps us bring you programs you love. Go to wyomingpbs.org, click on Support, and become a sustaining member or an annual member. It's easy and secure. Thank you.
What if I were to tell you that protecting our oceans begins in Wyoming? For sure, we think about our clean air and mountains more often than our distant seas, but Wyoming is a headwater state and our water ends up, well, in our oceans. We'll learn about plastics, recycling, and our oceans as we visit with Kelly Wright of the Wyoming Inland Ocean Coalition next on Wyoming Chronicles.
Funding for this program is made possible in part by the Wyoming Humanities Council, helping Wyoming take a closer look at life through the humanities, thinkwy.org, and by the members of the Wyoming PBS Foundation. Thank you for your support.
And as we begin Wyoming Chronicle this evening, it's our pleasure to be joined by Kelly Wright. Kelly is the founder and chapter lead of the Wyoming Inland Ocean Coalition. Kelly, welcome to Wyoming Chronicle.
Thank you, Craig.
As we said in the top, often people don't think about oceans in Wyoming. What is the Inland Ocean Coalition?
The Inland Ocean Coalition, our mission is to create that inland movement between the inlands and the ocean. And the key word with the Wyoming Inland Coalition is the inland. People hear the Ocean Coalition and they're like, doesn't she know what our ties with the ocean? The ocean's so far away. And it is, it's over 1,000 miles away, but we have that impact from the inlands through our water here in state. And we talk about that through our initiatives.
And we'll talk about that Wyoming is a headwater state in just a moment, but how did you become involved in, I guess, this effort or this movement?
Okay, in 2018, I was getting my master level certification in PADI scuba diving. And then I had to take a Project Aware course as part of that. My dive instructor said, hey, Kelly, I can tell you're really passionate about this. Why don't you go home and do something impactful with this? And he goes, I'm going to hold you accountable. So in March of 2019, I had to report back to him. So when I got home, November of 2018, I looked around, couldn't find anything that really related to the inlands and the ocean, except for surf riders, which is more coastal. So I started the Inland Ocean Coalition. When I looked at surf rider, they actually had the same initiatives I was looking for. So I thought I could start my own nonprofit. And I started the process. It was a lot of work. And because it was so much work, I started doing more research online and found the Inland Ocean Coalition out of Colorado.
So when you were taking your PADI scuba diving courses, was it pollution or was it just ocean health in general that you became more aware of?
Through the Project Aware, it's actually, they work with divers around the world. It's a global relationship with the ocean. And they go into ocean health, ocean protection, and that's what drove me, with the plastic pollution, just the sustainability of fish and whatnot in the ocean. And I think it's mainly the plastic pollution because I did this in the Caribbean, and along the coastal areas of the Caribbean, you see plastic everywhere.
So we'll zip all the way back to Wyoming. Mm-hmm. Wyoming is a headwater state.
Exactly.
Why is that important to ocean health?
Because as a headwater state, we have the Great Divide. People don't know, I have to go back to, what is a headwater state? We have the Great Divide coursing through the state of Wyoming. And as a headwater state, we have waters going to both the Pacific and the Atlantic. Through the water cycle, we have water coming down on the state of Wyoming via snow and rain. And as that water returns to the ocean, what we do in our daily lives impacts ocean health through what we do and what ends up in our streams, creeks, and all that ends up going downstream eventually. Not all of it, but most of it goes downstream to the ocean.
So what do you hope to accomplish? That's a very open-ended question, and there's lots to it to talk about.
So through the Inland Ocean Coalition, there's so many, they keep it wide open. So depending on the chapter, there's so many initiatives that we can look into. They let us determine what we want to actually look into and use as our own initiatives. So in the Wyoming chapter, we look at educating our youth. We get in the school system, the classrooms, we talk about the water cycle, we talk about watershed health, we talk about ocean pollution, and get with the children and start engaging with them. And my other initiative is plastic pollution. I see plastic everywhere. The bags are everywhere. So that's another thing. And I know you're probably going to get into this,
Sure.
but the Sustainable Shopping Initiative is one thing I'm really addressing right now.
And let's go into the plastic bags that you're concerned about. You shared a movie with the Cheyenne community recently that I got to see. It was called Bag It.
Exactly.
It was about 10 years old, but it was striking in so many ways. The numbers of plastic bags that are used in this country and in the world, it's staggering. Share some of the statistics with us.
So statistic-wide, I know I talked to the landfill manager here in Cheyenne, and we were trying to estimate how many bags were ending up in our landfill. And we came up with at least 60,000 single-use plastic bags are going in our landfill daily here in Cheyenne.
The statistics that were in the movie, I think, were in the United States, 1 million plastic bags are used every 2 seconds.
Right. Or they actually say, if you take a dump truck, if you fill that up, every minute, a dump truck size is ending up
full of plastic bags. Yes. So you're concerned, and other communities in Wyoming are concerned about what's called sustainable shopping. What does that mean?
Sustainable shopping means we have the Sustainable Shopping Initiative. So it's actually, I hate the word ban. So it's a way to
As
change.
in banning plastic bags.
Banning
you dislike
plastic
that
bags.
term.
Yes. Sustainable Shopping Initiative. And actually, the state of Oregon used this term. So we like to use that in place of ban, because what we're trying to do is change the shopping habits of people. Not actually banning or taking something away. We're just trying to show them a model of how to actually change their shopping habits. So if a person goes into the store and they forget their reusables, they have the option of buying or purchasing a paper, which is going to be mostly recyclable paper, or a reusable shopping bag. And it's to get them to remember to bring their reusables.
So you're part of an initiative in Cheyenne to move that project forward. Jackson, I think, is banned the right word in Jackson,
Yes.
the use of single-use plastic bags. So what is your goal here, at least in Cheyenne, and then what have you heard other communities in Wyoming are becoming interested in?
So here locally in Cheyenne, our goal is to, if a person forgets their bag, and our fee right now with the ordinance, it's kind of flexible.
And this is a proposed ordinance that you and the city are
yes,
working on.
Right.
I see.
It's at the level of the city attorney. And so right now we have a fee listed on the ordinance, but we're not actually publishing that yet because it's still in the works. Okay. We want it high enough to get people to get in the habit of bringing their reusables instead of just buying a bag for 2 cents, say. I think a 10-cent fee would be, pretty favorable just to get people to remember their reusables. And then that fee, it's not a tax, the fee would stay with the store. So they can use that money to buy other reusables for the community, or, do outreach, educate people.
Kelly, we live in Wyoming,
Yes,
and a lot of people say, hands off.
exactly.
I don't need a law for that. And so what pushback have you gotten, if any?
Yeah, and someone proposed, hey, let's just do it, let's make it flexible. Let's say, hey, let's give the stores the option to implement this, but without making it concrete and making it a law or an ordinance. But it doesn't work. Surfrider has done studies across the nation where communities have tried that. It has not worked. And as far as the pushback, yes, I've gotten that. It's like, I've got enough laws in place, but this comes down to health. Plastic bags break down. The plastic never goes away. Every single piece of plastic that's ever been made is still out there, and it photodegrades into microplastics. They get into tinier and tinier pieces. And those microplastics, as they get in our water supply, they start taking in toxins. Those toxins are in the plastic, those microplastics. Those microplastics get eaten by fish or other animals, and they have the potential to end up in our food stream.
By the way, this isn't just
chain.
in the food chain. This isn't just fish in oceans.
No.
This is fish inland as
Exactly.
well that are encountering this issue to some extent.
Exactly.
Your idea is to just talk about reusable plastic bags, but of course there are many other plastic bags, or one-use shopping bags, I should say. There are many other plastic bags. There are produce bags. There are newspaper wrappers. There's dog waste bags. There's plastic everywhere. What do you think about all of those things, which also contribute to the problem?
I think if you educate the community on the ills of using single-use plastic bags, the ordinance would only cover the single-use plastic bags at the checkout. It has nothing to do with the produce bags or the plastic bags used to cover produce, cover your newspapers. But I think through education, we can educate the community on how to refuse those items if possible, because there's mesh produce bags that we can use. There's other ways, or if you buy a bunch of bananas, do you really need to put them in a plastic bag, or can you just put them in your cart? When I shop, if I want a green pepper, I take the green pepper, throw it in my cart, because you're going to take it home and wash it anyways. Why do you need the plastic bag? But I know people have, their main concern is, how am I going to pick up after my animals? When I'm walking my animals, they can actually get creative and use those plastic bags that they use to put their produce in or their meats in, and use those and reuse those in a productive way.
Sure, this is not a one-way street. There's conversations with grocery store owners and other people. What are their response? What do they tell you about this? Because it seems to me it's a nationwide effort, really.
Right, it is. And I, through like Walmart, I reached out to Walmart. I didn't get to the CEO level or anything like that. But the customer service gentleman that I spoke with, his name was Wesley, he actually said they have it on their books. If the community actually goes with a ban or a fee, they actually encourage communities to do this, and they have ways. They'll embrace it. Is what I want to say. Other stores like King Soopers are looking at banning nationwide by 2020 or 2025.
So relatively soon.
Yes. So Kroger's, King Soopers. So other stores, I know Target's on board. If you pass something locally, they're going to support that.
So what are other communities doing in Wyoming? Give us some examples of the lay of the land in Wyoming.
So Jackson Hole was the first community to do this. They are a resort town, so I hate to even mention that because we are much smaller. But Laramie, actually the Green Club president that was with Central High School last year.
And you're involved in this thing called Green Club. What is that?
Yeah, Green Club is a club at Central High School here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. They are actually looking at recycling, promoting conservation, ways to clean up Cheyenne, plant trees, whatnot. Owen Reese was the president last year, and he has since moved to Laramie. He's at Laramie High as a senior, and he is actually promoting the ban they're not banning, they're placing a fee on single-use plastic bags to promote people to change their habits. And we are doing a ban. Sheridan, I just got a call from Sheridan a couple of weeks ago, and they are actually looking at doing a ban as well.
What's the impetus in these other communities? Is it more of a grassroots thing where community members have this idea, they've read a little bit about projects such as this and need assistance? Is that kind of how this all begins?
I think so. I think we're just noticing the number of plastic bags as you walk around the neighborhoods, drive down the streets. You're seeing plastic in the trees. You're seeing plastic in fence lines. I actually did an interview down at the newspaper here locally, and as I walked in, there was 3 plastic bags in their courtyard hanging off their tree. I thought, this is great. But yes, they're everywhere. It's just, first of all, they're unsightly. Second of all, they're very costly. So at the landfill, as they blow out, it's costing us $200 a day to pick up pollution that's blowing out of the landfill.
And this is a person that's then charged with responsibility of tracking them down.
Yes, he has to hire extra crew to come out daily, like today, to go out and pick up these single-use plastic bags, other debris as well. But he says the single-use plastic bags are the worst because they scatter so much. And he says, actually, the cattle prefer plastic over anything else. And that's another issue, is the health of the cattle.
And talk about that for just a little bit.
Okay.
What do you mean by that? They prefer the plastic. If they see it, they'll try to eat it?
I talked to a rancher here in town, and he says, yeah, it's because the plastic's moving, and they're curious, and they go over to the plastic and they eat it, and it causes 2 issues, either intestinal blockage, or as you know, cattle have 4 stomachs, and as the bag goes in, it stays there, and they take in more plastic, and they have a lot of gas. Cattle are rudimentary, so they want to, expel the plastic back into the mouth. They're chewing, they digest it again or swallow it, and then they produce all these gases. Well, if the bag comes up and blocks the passage for the gas, they can actually bloat and it causes a very painful
problematic to say the least.
Death. Yeah.
Let's get into a little bit more about recycling.
Yes.
It seems like such an easy idea, but it's really difficult in Wyoming for communities to implement. What have you learned about recycling, not just here in Cheyenne, but across the state?
And I don't know if it's so much an implementation. I think most people want to do the recycling. It's just getting down to the cost. I know glass is very heavy, and to actually take glass and send it somewhere to be recycled is very costly. With plastics, I know that the raw material Instead of having recyclable plastic, the raw material is much cheaper and it's more pure. So I know manufacturers would rather use that than the recyclable material. So it becomes a cost factor.
It's a business decision.
It is.
Yeah.
It's just really expensive, and most communities can't afford. Actually, it's a money-losing system or business to get into the recycling business.
So should people pay for recycling? And I ask that question. I've lived in different communities where we are charged for recycling. We're happy to pay it. In other communities where the expectation is, well, it should be free. If I'm giving this stuff back and you're doing whatever, then I shouldn't have to pay for it. What should community members expect from a recycling
And I think
program?
that comes down to, again, the cost of what it costs to go through the recycling process. And it comes down to the community. What does the community want? How bad do they want these items recycled? I think we are paying for it right now. If you look at your bill, it's on there.
Here in Cheyenne.
Yes, we are.
Yep.
So it is costing us. I think we have to pay a fee if we want this done. It doesn't come by freely.
And Wyoming's geography makes it so that you have to carry stuff further. Chinese markets have changed in how they're accepting this, so that's also kind of a
If
problem
they accept
too.
it at all, yeah.
So what are your recommendations for people? I mean, I've got to tell you, since Saturday, here's what I did. One of the things you recommended, and it goes to the thing that, well, people say they recycle, so they're doing enough. Is that enough? If I say, hey, I recycle, I do my part, is that enough?
So you have to look at the source of the material. We have what we call, and there's like 5 R's, there's 7 R's. So the number one that I always educate people on and in the classroom is refuse. If you have an option of not using plastic, go with that.
Okay, give us an example of that. A meat purchase is something I can think of.
Meat?
Yeah, a meat purchase. If I'm going to go buy a steak, I can ask them to wrap it in paper
Oh, sure.
rather than plastic.
Exactly.
Other examples?
Yeah, and then if you go like ketchup or mayo, you have the option of glass versus plastic, right? And I know that then you have to look at, well, then now I have to recycle.
I've got to think about my store shelf. I don't know that I have the option of glass, do I?
You do.
Okay,
When you go in, you have most stores.
okay.
I actually look for glass.
But I can't recycle glass.
You can't unless if you make a trip down to Colorado, you can always drop it off there. Or Target
Okay,
takes glass here in town. Also, if you're going to send an item to the landfill, is it better to send glass or plastic?
true.
Okay.
Yep.
Glass actually, according to Dennis Pino,
Yep.
and
he works
it
at the
breaks
Cheyenne
down.
landfill and has
Yes.
for 40 years.
Yes, 41 years.
Yeah.
Glass, as it breaks down in the landfill, it doesn't cause any ill effects on us. Whereas if the plastic is in our water supply, I know their landfills are lined, but what if somehow it got into our water supply as the plastics break down?
Some
I'd
sort
rather
of
have the
leaching or
glass.
something. Yeah. Okay, more recommendations on how we can become better shoppers, if you will.
Better shoppers. Well, the number one thing is to go to the source, write letters to store. As consumers, we can refuse things. We can change the production of items or have a say in it. What do you buy? You can buy deodorant that doesn't have plastic. You can buy deodorant that comes in cardboard. It's just a consumer choice. That's the number one. Refuse is the first one. Reduce, reuse, recycle is the last one. But there's repurposing, repair. There's so many R's. But yeah, just the number one is to refuse. But there's so many different things that we can do as consumers. But I think you can actually write these stores, write your congressman, write your city council, and say, this is how I feel.
True story. Don't have a lot of hair, but I was watching the movie that you presented in Cheyenne Saturday.
Okay.
Someone talked about shampoo on a bar. Never heard of it, quite frankly. So I looked, Googled it. Yeah, there it is. I'm going to buy it. Boom, bought it right there. Got it, and guess what? It came in a big plastic bag that I didn't even think about when I made that purchase. And I think people make decisions like that all the time,
Right.
without really thinking it through. And I certainly didn't think it through either. Is that what you find?
Yeah, and without promoting a particular business over another, I know if you go through Amazon, you have the option of requesting that they actually package your items sustainably without any plastic.
I did not know that.
One that we promote through the Inland Ocean Coalition, it goes beyond just plastic. We talk about sustainable fishing. Our oceans are overfished, so we get into that. When you shop for shrimp, when you eat shrimp, 97% of the fish caught is not shrimp, it's byproduct, and they're destroyed. They're thrown back in the ocean, and most of those creatures die. It could be dolphins, whales, other sea life. So watch where you're eating as far as seafood. what are you putting on your skin, and getting into our own local waters. There's
Like,
corals.
are you thinking about lotions and colognes and sunscreens?
I'm talking about
and all that
sunscreen.
kind of stuff?
Sunscreen's very toxic.
But you're supposed to use sunscreen.
Yes, so you have to go with the coral safe. First of all, you try not to use sunscreen, and if you do,
Now, I'd argue that we should never not use sunscreen.
okay, you
It's
should
what we're
cover up.
taught.
You should cover up.
Cover up instead.
Cover up is the main thing.
Okay.
Okay. Secondly, if you do use sunscreen, make sure it's coral safe sunscreen.
Okay.
Some other things is look how you're treating your lawn. Are you putting toxic chemicals on there that are bleeding into our water
Fertilizers.
supply? Exactly. So we have different things that we talk about. Yes.
So what's the near future for your organization? What is it that you're doing in the next year to 2 years? Where's your focus going to be?
My focus locally is working with school children. I have children. Come from a blended family, and I have a blended family myself. We have 6 children, 4 grandbabies. I look at them, and I think, where is our world going? What kind of world are they going to have? I know what I had, and I felt it was very clean. I look at the world now. By the year 2050, there's going to be more plastic in the ocean by weight than fish. That's scary to me.
That is scary.
So I actually just look at my children and think I've got to do more. So I'm working with school children. That's my number one. I have a thing coming up at Buffalo Ridge School Elementary, working with the school children there. We have the plastic pollution initiative that we're working on here in town with the single-use plastic bag ban. So those are my 2 main focuses right now. Once those start tapering down, then I'll start looking at others.
So if people want more information, can they reach out to you? And
Oh,
just look
definitely.
at our viewers are looking at your web address now on our screen.
Okay.
Do you encourage that?
Oh, I would love to have. We have about 200 members right now. I've been doing this for about a year. We already have 200 members. I'm so pleased with that. But we would love to have more. So please email me, call me. I, would love to have you as part of our membership. We try to meet monthly. We have what we call the Blue Drink meeting, where we have alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks, but we talk about issues, and we get together and collaborate. It's like, how can we improve the community on conservation, on anything really? So.
Was the local city government receptive to you? Have they been receptive?
Oh, very much so. So I've been doing presentations.
And my point is that people shouldn't be afraid to approach their local leaders in other communities.
Exactly. And I reached out with the Chamber of Commerce. They had me come speak to the Action and Advocacy. They heard my presentation. They were very on board, and they represent the businesses here in town. I'm going to speak before the DDA, their Downtown Development Association, tomorrow. It's just educating the community. I think it's something that people aren't aware of when you hear ocean in Wyoming.
Right.
So it's just educating the community, and then they end up being on board.
What's your vision for not only Wyoming, but for the entire country? Do you think that this will become an issue? How might people learn more on their own if they want to just Google things? What should they do?
So if you want to learn more, please, look at our organization, but there's other partners that we have. We partner with NOAA.
What's the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Research Group?
Yeah, and they actually sponsor us. The Ocean Foundation, we're part of the Ocean Foundation. We're actually under their sponsorship umbrella. But there's so many similar organizations out there, but they mainly are more coastal. We are the first inland and recognized inland movement in regard to ocean health.
Is this an issue that you fear might be tough to get some traction in Wyoming?
No, I think people are like, I actually had a table at Super Day last year.
Super Day is a big event in Cheyenne.
Cheyenne,
where
sorry.
That's okay. That many different groups and organizations
Exactly.
are all present in one space.
Right, and people are coming up to my table. It's like, where have you been? This is amazing. I didn't know you were around. And so that's where I actually got the most of my members, just interacting with the community that way at Super Day. I've been overly surprised by the number of positive comments I've received. My email's out there, and I've only had a few, maybe I think one. One person that actually reached out to me that didn't totally agree with me, but after a good conversation, I was able to educate that person, and I think I swayed them to come on my side a little bit. But
One thing I've noticed is that I think there are resources available for folks, reusable bags, for example,
oh yeah,
at no cost.
exactly.
They're out there from different businesses.
Yes, and that's part of our initiative. If the stores can keep that fee, they can purchase reusable bags for the consumers. And there's different things you can do. We make T-shirt bags where you take an old t-shirt, cut off the sleeves and make it into a bag, and we give those out.
Kelly, this just isn't a movement, certainly that's in Wyoming or the United States. This is kind of a worldwide thing.
It is, and nationally. Worldwide, we have about 20 countries that have a ban or working on a ban. Ireland is a huge example.
And this is a ban on plastic bags,
yes.
single-use plastic bags.
Yes, so Ireland implemented a fee, and in that first year, they decreased the amount of single-use plastic bags by 90%.
And even those, with the numbers that we had earlier, imagine if it's 1 million bags every 2 seconds, well, shucks, that would still be 100,000 bags
Right.
every 2 seconds, which is still a lot.
Right. In the nation, we have 8 states that have some sort of ban in place for single-use plastic bags.
So the bottom line is that we know that water kind of starts here in Wyoming, but we know where it ends, and it's important to think about that.
That, and the ocean belongs to all of us.
And also with the single-use plastic bag initiative, it'd be interesting to see how this kind of catches on in the state, I think.
Yes, I think so.
Well, Kelly Wright, we're thankful for your time today.
Thank
and
you,
best wishes with the Inland Ocean Coalition.
Thank you.
If people can find this movie, Bag It. It's 10 years old, but I'm sure there may be other movies like it, but this particular movie tells a pretty interesting and important story.
It does, and it's very, it's very funny too.
That is absolutely true. But thank you for your work not only here in Cheyenne, but also across the state.
Well,
And thanks
you.
for joining us on
Thank
Wyoming
you.
Chronicle.
Thank you.
Funding for this program is made possible in part by the Wyoming Humanities Council, helping Wyoming take a closer look at life through the humanities. ThinkWhy.org. And by the members of the Wyoming PBS Foundation. Thank you for your support.